What happens when there's conflict in your relationship? Does it progress fast or slow? Does it have an urgency to it? Is one of you pushing for it to be dealt with now? Every week people contact me to help with the conflict in their relationships, and very quickly the conversation turns to when. When can you meet, Simon? When can you help? Because things have got real bad. Can you meet this week? Are you available in the next few days? Can you talk to him? Can you just contact her? As a mediator and a conflict coach, the first step to de-escalating any conflict is to take the urgency out of it, to slow it down. Urgency is a very influential member of the conflict family. It's a real close cousin. Maybe more of a sidekick or even a best friend. They go everywhere together. Urgency feeds conflict. Conflict feeds urgency. Urgency just stirs the pot. And when you separate them, when you split them up, the urgency and the conflict will almost always de-escalate to a more manageable state. Now, it's not always possible to do this. However, I guarantee you slowing things down is possible far more often than it's not. So, what does this actually look like in your relationship? Well, for a start, what it doesn't look like, it's not avoidance. And I'll cover this more later. But when your partner brings you an issue that involves conflict, when you're upset and steam's coming out of your ears, the question has to be asked, does this really have to be dealt with right now? Is this urgency for real? Is dealing with this matter now, is this a matter of life and death? And what happens if we pause it? Now, it might be uncomfortable to do so. It might not be what you want to do, but can we slow this down? Is it possible? And the answer will highly likely be yes. A slow-moving conflict has a completely different intensity and energy and makeup to a fast-moving conflict. A snail's pace conflict, a turtle conflict, has a very different intensity to a big cat sort of conflict or a runaway train conflict. Teenagers use urgency really well. Dad, I need to know now. My friend's waiting for me on the phone. I need to know now. What's your answer? Can I go out, please? Dad, can I go out? I need to know now. Dad, dad, dad. Mum, mum, mum. Urgency, urgency, urgency. The first thing to do in any conflict is to attempt to slow it down and remove the urgency from play. So next time there's conflict in your relationship, if there's urgency, slow it down. If the interaction's happening via text or online or email, don't immediately fire back. Pause, stop, slow it down. If you're together, well, can we talk about this later after the kids are in bed? Or can we revisit this tomorrow? Can we just go out with our friends as we planned and talk about this later? Even just pausing a conflict for 5 or 10 minutes to have a cuppa, probably apart, but maybe even together, can make a huge difference. Can you take the urgency out of it? Well, if not, so be it. We better talk about this now, but first dig deep with the question. Slowing conflict down is almost always possible. It's almost always a good idea and will almost always de-escalate the situation. Now, really important, this is not about avoiding conflict. This is about making conflict more manageable so that you're both more likely to behave well and find healthy conflict. Remember, conflict's not the problem. Conflict is rarely ever the problem. It's the way people behave when they're in conflict that's the problem. If you want to learn more about healthy conflict and how to better minimize and manage and stop arguments in your relationship, then check out the free guide to increasing your argument IQ. I've written this to expose the patterns and structures that lie hidden underneath the surface that actually create arguments. Interrupt these patterns and structures and you can change arguing in your relationship forever. The link is in the description below. Please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And remember, the next time you experience conflict, look out for urgency. It's almost always there winding things up. And then do your best to slow things down. Not avoid, but remove the urgency. And for more, check out the video on transforming your relationship conflicts for good. It'll appear on the end screen in the next few seconds. Have a great week. And so important, be kind to yourself out there.